Poinsettia blossoms, rich red blooms. How she loved those velvets, Christmas blues. Poinsettia blossoms, speak to my love, tell her of my love.
I always had the vision of violins and that kind of thing. And when I went to London, I got in with some young people who were doing work for a group called Depeche Mode, a young mod band, you know. And I spoke to them and told them what the music was all about. And he did that beautiful arrangement. Na 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 dee da da da, start off that way, you know. And then he came up there and we hired you know, the London Symphony Orchestra's musicians, you know, they do this little work, you know, at extra, you know, session people. We hired them, and then he came up and we did this thing, and you know.
I'm actually looking at the original lyrics for Poinsettia Blossoms.
No, just the original lyrics on that.
Ginger soaking for the ginger bear, rich red sorrow bottled waiting there, punches, puddings, cloves and spices there, cardboard lanterns, scenes of yesteryear, Christmas carols heard everywhere, only bring memories this time of year. Poinsettia blossoms, rich red blooms. How she loved those velvet Christmas blooms. Poinsettia blossoms, speak to my love, tell her of my love, bring her back to me.
Poinsettia Blossoms has remained for 20 years because it's seasonal. There's something seasonal to something seasonal. And it caught the mind of people, so a lot of people were singing it, and even youngsters. But we in a different age now, and a composer cannot rely on just that kind of thing to ensure that his music, you know, continues. Because so much music goes across media now. I mean, there's television, there used to be radio, now there's television, there's electronic media, you know, there's YouTube. And unless you can sort of get your stuff across this media, you know, even your music merits it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I would like your permission to actually redo Poinsettia Blossoms. I would love to do that song, Poinsettia Blossoms, to redo it, and not necessarily rework it, but to modernize it a little bit. And when I say modernize it, basically just, you know, change some of the instruments, for example, to give it that more contemporary feel. Because that song, like I said last time, I think that song is, it's so much a part of St. Lucian culture, especially around Christmas time. I mean, I learned that song from primary school, and I've never forgotten it. I mean, I may probably forget one or two of the words, but in terms of when you hear Poinsettia Blossom, like, you'd be like, you know, because I spoke to, again, my friend of mine, keyboard player, and I was like, you know, I want to redo Poinsettia Blossoms. And he's like, Poinsettia Blossoms? Like, that's a St. Lucian song? I'm like, yeah, that's a St. Lucian song. He's like, but I know that song growing up, I never knew that was a St. Lucian song. You know, and when I explained that to him, he was like, oh, like, you know, he was excited about it. And again, like I said, with your permission, you know, I'd like to redo that song as quickly as possible too.
Redoing a song is fine, you know, as long as it doesn't. I've told you the story about the song.
Yes.
As long as it doesn't lose its essence.
No, and
because there is one version that is done, and as far as I'm concerned, the essence of the song is completely lost in the version. In an attempt to concentrate on modernization.
No, well, you see, ever since...
Not to interpret. In other words, there's nothing wrong with interpreting in a person's own manner, you know, your style, the way it hits you and so on, and you interpret it. But to completely destroy is... I'm not saying what you're going to do, but I'm saying that is one thing that must be avoided, you know.
No, well, I mean, first off, I mean, you'd have creative control over the outcome of it, number one. And number two, as a matter of fact, since you told me the story about Poinsettia Blossom, it's like there's a deeper appreciation for it. Like, in other words, it's a bit of a sad song, you know, and it never really dawned on me the depth of meaning behind that song until you actually told me the story of it. And it's like, you know, so that, knowing that now, I mean, whatever approach that I would take in terms of redoing it would definitely take that into consideration.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I revealed what's at the back of it, because I don't want the song to be done again like it was done by somebody, you know, some American chap who doesn't understand it at all, and went all from, you know, just modernizing it and losing its meaning, losing its feeling entirely, you know.
When we redo the song, the lyrics are gonna stay the exact same way. The melody is gonna stay the same. The tempo is probably gonna stay the same as well. The only thing that might change is obviously a different voice, probably some harmonies in certain places, like basically more layers of vocals and stuff like that, and some of the instruments. And when I say some of the instruments, like for example, at the beginning there's a flute there. Right, I mean, we could keep that, but we'd probably, like, you know, do more with the flute, like have it more, you know, have it in the background sometimes, like during the song itself, you know, because listening to it, there's, I mean, it's fantastic as is, you know, but to kind of give it like a more.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that we hold on to what's there at all. That was my version of it. This is what I wanted to hear. I wanted the violins and that, but then, you know, other interpretations. Like all Christmas songs, a lot of people, Beyonce sings "Oh Holy Night" in a hell of a different way to what is done in church, and it's beautiful, you know. Yeah. And I've been fortunate up to now in having good arrangers. There was Carlos Mins, there was David Allen in London, a young fellow who used to an orchestra conductor in the West End. David liked, you know, it was a fresh experience for him. He said, man, an untrained fellow, man, you couldn't understand. And David worked with me, you know. Never charged me too much to do it because the experience is what. And he said, boy, where you get that chord from? You know, but there's a great musician, you know, David. But David was able, he'd sit there, you know. There was no computer then. And David would just write, you know, write down. Sitting there, the chords, right, you know, we'd sit and in an hour we had a piece of music down with chords, a basic chord structure. Then I'd go home and then he'd fill it in. That is what I miss, you know. And it takes somebody who can read your musical mind. That's the trouble. People who have been working on, they read your musical mind, man, that's where he wants to go. I think it'll go over better if you have your version, rather than a version that everybody has heard, you know. Everybody has heard that introduction, everybody has heard that thing, you know. And it will look too much like you aping somebody else. I don't want that to happen to you.
Well, I guess we have to change the approach a little because we were kind of
First of all, don't you agree with me? Don't you agree with me?
Yeah, I agree with you, but I was really trying to hang on to the original part of the music.
Let's put it this way. I mean, you're giving us more creative license
Yes.
than we would have just taken on our own. For the intro, we could use the same melodic line, right? And then probably some stuff like. And then come back with this kind of thing. Like some hard stops kind of vibe.
Yeah, that would work.
So like booze it up a little bit. Let's go. Give me a minute.